Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome back to the Daily Southampton, part of the Global Sports Podcast Network. My name is Greg Elliott, and as always, today joined by my good friend and wonderful co-host, Zach Finch. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. It's been a bit of a rollercoaster week for Southampton fans, isn't it? Relegation confirmed, manager out the door. Everyone's got what I can even. It's just kind of some mad expectations as to who our new manager is. I've seen, as I talked to you before, Ange Postecoglou, Gareth Southgate, Lampard, Rooney, Lallana, Ricky Lambert. Why not bring all the ex-players back? Give them a punt. And I'm just like, mate, what on earth? Romeu might even be able to do a job. I'm like, sure, let's just hire John from down the road, mate. Like at this point.
Yeah.
Some crazy sort of speculation. I very much doubt we're going to end up with a new manager before the end of the season. They've already said that. People seem to think otherwise.
But we mentioned it in yesterday's episode, but it would be stupid to taint a new manager with with this season. I couldn't think of an appropriate terminology there, Zach, is what happened. Yes, they all got filtered.
That's good. But I also like if it's people like Roll, it's if he obviously still probably the leading candidate last time I checked, but it's like a little bit disrespectful to whatever club he's at that he wants to see out the season. He's already said that, and I think that most managers, if they're unemployed, sure, but I don't know. I'd much prefer them to take their time and go through a robust process rather than just trying to pick somebody. We've got Russ until the end of the season. Russ, if we lose, it doesn't matter. If we win, we can get a little bit of pride back. If we draw, at this point, the only thing that we as a team are doing are trying to beat that record because we shouldn't be anywhere near that record. And that's how the players feel. And the other thing is to, potentially ruin the hopes and dreams of multiple clubs are above us that are planning to do special things like Europe and whatever, because, stranger things have happened. For example, Arsenal beat Real Madrid 3-0 last night. Stranger things have happened.
Fantastic free kicks from Declan Rice.
Very true.
Unbelievable. But yes, that's right. But all of that speculation and buzz around new manager can wait because we've still got games to play, mate. So we've got Villa this weekend. Rusk and Lallana's first time together in the dugout.
7 games to go, mate.
It's a lot, isn't it? 4 of them at home.
That's a lot for where we're at now, I think. And I know that's, we could argue that about till the cows come home, but it'll be interesting. We'll have to record this a little bit earlier than I'd have liked to. I'd much prefer to have seen a presser and seen what fitness and availability is like. But alas, I am away for a day this week in jolly old London. So we're trying to get something in the calendar, in the books, which means we're probably going to be going a lot of speculation. But it will be interesting to see how it plays out, in my opinion, just how the team selection is going to go. Because now it's different to the last game, right? Because the last time he was in charge, he was supposed to be in charge for 2 days or whatever, 2 games until the next person they brought in. This is essentially a little bit of an interim job. This is, you have 7 games where you have to do things, right? Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see who are his favourites. Are we going to see the return of some players that we've not seen for ages? I'm thinking Ryan Fraser. I'm thinking, Ross Stewart had a cameo the last game. Maybe he's fit enough to start. Yeah, there's some real meat and bones to debate right up until we find out 50% of our squad is injured 5 minutes before the game starts, as is usually the case.
You're right. I think that all we can hope for is, because it is fresh set of expectations, right? So when we move on to predicted lineups, it's going to be really difficult. But I think all I personally hope for is that he just plays players in the positions that they play. And that doesn't really sound like a lot, but that really is sort of how low the bar has become.
That is how low the bar has gotten, right? I know we've talked about Jurichka and we've talked about who he could potentially replace him, but one of the things we've kind of speculated over the last couple of weeks is just how low our expectations are. And for me, going into this game, it's just like not be embarrassed, but I don't even know what that entails anymore, because there's been games we've lost 3-0 and you've turned around to me and been like, well, we weren't humiliated. And I'm like, so yeah, but you're right. It is a fresh set of expectations. And it's like, they have a point to prove at this rate, right? In my opinion. And like anyone who's still going to be here, and there's going to be a few players that probably are still going to be here after the end of the season, they're going to have to stake their claim, or otherwise they're going to get replaced probably. Like they might end up still being here, but that doesn't mean they're going to get the game time they want. And this is an opportunity over the next couple of games for them to do that. It's an opportunity to see which youth players, in my opinion, could come through. I'd love to see him play a couple of the players that we've got sort of in the Premier League too. But again, it's, do you want to taint those players with their debut in this season?
I think that we will see a few of them come up.
Yeah.
Maybe not as early as this game. I think that he'll want to play the same sort of players that have been playing and try and put his mark on that instead of, or we might see some of the more fringe players who have been in and around the squad, but I don't think it's throw the kids at it time yet. I think there'll be time for that in other games in the season for sure. I don't know if this is it.
Well, it's like, my opinion on things like this is like, if all of our centre backs are injured and we have no centre backs, rather than trying to shoehorn Joe Aribo in centre back, why don't we try and bring on like Kaya Sander, who's scored in the Premier League too? And it's things like this. And I guess these are the elements that we don't really talk about. And one of the reasons we don't really talk about them is because it would be pointless speculation. We knew that Juric was never going to bring them in, but I find it very, very funny that if you remember when he was brought in, part of one of the reasons he was brought in was to play the youth. They literally talked about him like using the youth setup and stuff. And who has he brought through? Because you can't you can't really call Sulemana and Paul Onuachu youth players. Like, I know they're younger, but in comparison. So yeah, it's kind of interesting to me to see if the person who's been, knows where the talents could lie, will actually start playing them.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good opportunity to do it because, again, like the only thing that they can get at this point is Premier League exposure. And that, that gives them something to fight for next season, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. It's an interesting one. I don't know if there's a right answer. And I think that because Rusk hasn't been tainted yet with the real disappointments of this season, it's a fresh opportunity with the crowd to have the liberty to express sort of whatever he thinks is going to be right without too harsh of a judgment or too harsh of a criticism. Because if it was still Juric and he was like, oh, we're relegated now, I'm just going to play a team of kids, it would get a negative reaction comparatively, right? Like, it's not...
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I just, again, I think because we have that liberty, it would be a good opportunity.
I agree.
And I don't think he's going to lose his job regardless. So
no, exactly. Okay, well, we have the unenviable task next of some predicted 11s, so maybe we'll go a little bit nuts in that. But first, a message from our partners at Bionique.
Your body is unique, and Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bionique, the world's most personalised supplements. Bionique provide 100% tailor-made supplements, designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimize your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN 2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bionique. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
Okay, and we are back. Predicted lineups, Zach. Do you think, with how uncomfortable we looked in a back four, we stick with a back five, despite the fact that in itself might be received negatively?
I feel like I don't think anything at this point can be received negatively just because of everything we've done this season. Back four, back five. Like the problem is that I can't remember the argument that was had the other day was, well, why did we change from a back five to a back four when we did better that last game beforehand against Palace? But then also the game beforehand. Why are we still playing a back five when we played a back four at Liverpool White? I just think they're going to be rubbish regardless. So I think it's whatever gives us the best defensive option against what is probably going to be an extremely tough Villa test. And I think that you could go for a back four if you have both Downs and Uga Chukwu back,
which we don't, because Downs is still suspended.
Which is when it worked. So then, if not, may as well play the back five. And you're going to put your Stevens, your Harwood Bellis, and your Jan Bednarek, aren't you? And then it's just going to be pick a defender either side. Play Carl Walker-Peters in his actual position, and then it's a choice between Wellington and Manning, and it will probably be Manning starting again over Wellington. So that's where I'm at. Like, if not, I know that Bella Kotchat said he's up for the fight. Whether or not he actually gets a look in the rest of the season, who knows? Same with Nathan Wood. Same with the other sort of what I would refer to as the outcasts. James Bree is another one that was favoured in a lot of positions. Looking back at the last Villa game as well, it's difficult to even compare because obviously it was a Russell Martin side. That's where we actually got a small cameo from Sulemana under Russell Martin in the 92nd minute, coming on for Ryan Manning. But even then, that was a bit sort of, what's the word, like shoehorned together squad. So it's going to be difficult. Do we bring back some other players? What about Charlie Taylor? Is he even still here?
Yeah, I don't know.
They sent him off on holiday early, or
I don't know. He didn't go and stand on the penalty spot when he was told to, and then got sent to the Shadow Realm. So, like, it's a baffling one.
Okay, so I've given you the defence. How do you think our midfield lines up and our attacking options? Because I think that you're perfectly in agreement with defence, right?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with that. And I think it goes without saying that Ramsdale will play goal.
Oh, yeah. Not Lumley.
Almost didn't need to be said, but almost. It's an interesting one because there's two trains of thought. So you either think of it as starting to try and build the players who are going to need confidence built for next season, or try and shape something into what might be. So you either give some of the players on the fringes who haven't had much of a chance this season and could be here next season a chance, or you sort of stick with what you think is going to give you the best opportunity to win. Now, to at least get something. Now, on that train of thought, you have to play Leslie Uga Chukwu because he's been solidly consistent in that role for us and important. Whereas there's 0% chance of him being here next season. So I think personally, I would pick a big Les with Aribo and Matty Fernandez, probably. Although there's a risk that's just too similar, and if we end up with the same sort of 11, I don't know if that goes down well either. So I don't know is the answer.
Well, that's the thing, right? Because for 45 minutes we were terrible, and then for 45 minutes we almost did okay. Yeah. And the players didn't hugely change until the latter stages of the second half, and then it was just at that point proper us being put to the sword as usual.
The only like solidly in that midfield name I have on the list that I don't see changing is Matty Fernandez.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Everyone else, you could theoretically
from the squad. Yeah,
why not play a Fraser? It's interesting that you seem to think that they'll go back because of the they don't want to waste time developing Uga Chukwu. Because that was one of my earlier arguments early in the season, where you were quite vehemently against it, where I was like, I don't understand why we're developing someone else's player. Where looking back at it, I've kind of forget he's on loan at this point because he's become such a staple part of the team, and it's actually quite upsetting to think we'll lose him. But now I think that as much as there is a clean slate and a new manager in interim, even for the time being, we still have that record to beat. And I don't think until we get past that record, they are willing to mess about, because I think that messing about too much, as much as I'd love to see him play sort of Kaya Sander and some of the other sort of youth prospects, I don't think they're going to do that until at the very least we have those points secured. And that could take right up until the end of the season, and it might still not happen, because the idea that we're going to take some points away, considering we laugh and joke about it, but realistically we've got some tough games ahead of us. Villa is one of them. Let's not pretend that they aren't where they are on merit currently. They're absolutely flying. Look at how well they recruited in January to be where they are now. Like, you know, Rashford's given a new leaf of life there. Asensio, you know, ex Real Madrid player flying at Villa, Champions League football, this and the other. You know, will be this game we take some points from? No. So I would consider like a draw to be a good thing. But I think that they will play to the strengths of the squad. And I think that having potentially a player in the squad as the assistant who knows the best strengths and probably has his ideas as to who will be the best. Maybe Adam Lallana will play himself. Maybe we'll see a whole 90 minutes of Lallana because he's decided that he needs to be in there and do some of that work. But yeah, I think until we get past there, I think that it's going to be the former option that you say, which is we are going to play to get something out of every single game that we can. Because also, like, other than Leicester and Everton, realistically, I think that most of the other games we're probably going to get well beaten, and that's bear in mind that Everton undergo a completely different system, and Leicester, which you've obviously said is being referred to at the moment as El Capio, but add an R in there.
Yeah. It's being speculated to maybe be the lowest quality game of football in Premier League history, which probably means it's going to be like a 5-4 win.
I cannot wait for both of us to be confirmed relegated by the time that game plays, and then it ends up being like the best game of the season, despite the fact that it means nothing. Because imagine all of those players playing with that freedom, but then also again, like we still have something to play for, and I think that it's easy to forget that, right?
What about like Smallbone? Like every other manager has seen something in Smallbone that we don't necessarily see, and sometimes vocally don't see.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? He's going to be around next season though, but I think until Big Les is gone, we should be playing Big Les over him. If it's him alongside Big Les, I'm not adverse to it. There is very much the speculation that Aribo is going to go at the end of the season, and I wouldn't really blame him either. But I wouldn't be massively upset by it. But
I think the reason that Will Smallbone comes under fire quite as much as it does is we've mentioned before that he's sort of like the jack of all trades.
Yeah,
and that
master
causes
of none,
the
though,
problem, right? Yeah, that sort of causes the problem because he's not as good of a holding midfielder as either Downs or Uga Chukwu, and he's not as much good of an attacking midfielder as Matty Fernandez. So or even maybe Aribo, it really sort of falls into that crack. I don't know.
It's one of those things where I don't know if you saw. I think Russell Martin was interviewed on another podcast, and he was basically talking about that he doesn't want to disrespect the players he had under him, but the quality of the Premier League isn't there with most of the players, and that is fortunately is pretty much where Smallbone fits. Yeah, maybe in the future 100%. He becomes a better quality Premier League player, but like remember when we were in the relegation season, we shipped him on loan to like Sunderland or Stoke.
Swansea.
Like we literally
Stoke, that was right.
Yeah, we literally sent him down to the Championship because we did not think he would fit into our squad then. And now he is, so it's not a disrespect to him as a player. I think that maybe he can become good in the future, but he's just not there now.
No, but I guess also like we've talked before how about the systems that they're asking these players to play in don't suit him at all. No. Maybe in a system where we're presumably and hopefully going back to basics a bit and playing players in their positions where they know how to play and sort of have played since their youth days of football and doing like simple playing ball, like taking it back to basics. Maybe that is something where he can sort of shine through. So maybe.
Yeah, but that'll be interesting because we're going to if not, then we're going to have to play with some sort of system that contains defensive midfielders just because of the sheer amount we're going to end up with next season. Because if not, we've got Downs, we're going to have Shea Charles back. Does Smallbone come in before any of them? If Fernandez goes, does he have a bigger role to play? Maybe, especially as I don't think Lallana's going to be playing next season. I think he might still be at the club. I actually
think Smallbone's strength is as more of a playmaker. So almost sitting in front of a defensive midfielder to play that role, maybe trying to give Matty Fernandez the freedom to push forward a bit more. maybe kind of works in a 3, but then I think the problem is maybe you struggle for width with the other players. So I don't know.
So I guess for the
not
Villa
a puzzle
game,
that I'd
it's
like to solve.
it's a roll of a dice, isn't it?
Yeah.
And again, it's like, who do we have in wingers? Are we going to play? It depends whether or not we decide to go back to sort of playing Cameron Archer and playing normal attacking football, or we go back to lumping the ball at tall Paul whenever we can. It'll be
surely that's a question of fitness, right? Because you can't truly. This is not a sentence, Zach, that I thought I saw myself saying at the start of the season. But how can you justify leaving out our top scoring striker and not play tall Paul?
Wow, what an incredible sentence to say. Yeah, no, exactly. You're right though, but again, it's like it's having to adjust the system. Maybe we'll finally see the attacking formation for a full 90 minutes, or at least for a first half of Toolpool and Cameron Archer. Maybe this is finally the day.
Imagine they just drop it into like a 4-4-2. We have like Sulemana on one side of midfield without the pressure of having to just go old school, like ping it up to the big man, it bounces off his head and Cameron Archer just runs in behind. The optimism is already bubbling inside me just thinking about it. Maybe
it would be lovely if it was worth anything. again, but then again, there is something on the line which does make it competitive still. It's not being the worst team ever.
Yeah. Okay, well, we will move on to score predictions and whether you think that this is the game that breaks that duck or not. But first, a message from our partners at Zencastr. Here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. Zencastr came out the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs, it's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description and learn more about Zencastr. Okie doke. So, Zach, I'm going to throw you straight under the bus, mate. Is this the game we beat the record?
I think it could be, and I think it's because Rusk gave us our best new manager bounce so far, which was a boring 0-0 draw.
0-0 draw.
Tall Paul is scoring now, so as long as there isn't any update between now and when we make this prediction that he's out for like 3 games or something ridiculous, because that would be
4 goals
the
in
icing
9
on the cherry.
4 goals in 9 starts is genuinely almost good Premier League striker form.
Yeah. So theoretically, 2 goals from Paul and Onuachu at home. Somehow we keep Villa quiet. I don't think we'll keep a clean sheet because we never do. But I think that would be, I don't know, it would be going down with at least the slightest amount of pride, as opposed to we have confirmed our space in the Championship for next season.
It is a better league.
It is a better league, you're right. But we're gonna run out of parachute payments soon, and we're gonna run out of the ability to go up and down like a yo-yo without it being significantly harmful. We are going down this season. They need to show some fight. Like, I appreciate some of the Instagram posts from some of the players. You can tell maybe they have tried their best and they aren't just that good. Taylor Harbour-Bellis springs to mind of someone putting like, "I'm so sorry," but like, that's fine. Just make it so we're not the worst of all time, please. We've already had enough banter, tin pot stuff for the entirety of the season. I'd love to see it happen. Maybe it could happen this game. Maybe we will be just completely underestimated. I could also see us easily getting battered, but that isn't the prediction I've given, Greg. There you go. Base of positivity for
2-1 win. Is that what
so
I heard in
I'm going for a 2-1 win amongst that absolute waffle.
I love it. I'm here for that level of optimism. Look, we all know that I have not predicted a Saints loss all season, and I'm not going to start now. Like that would be the craziest part of the week if I suddenly came out and went, "No, we're going to lose 3-1." In a rather tumultuous week, I still think that stands. I think that my prediction might be equally crazy, though, because I think, Zach, we're going to win 1-0.
Wow. We get the one. Oh, that would be a horrible way to spend 90 minutes of your life, wouldn't it? Is us to go 1 goal up and then manage to somehow get over the line. with a 12 minutes added time because of ridiculous VAR check at some point. You're right. Awful. We'll hate every minute of it.
Yeah.
That's how, if we're going to win this season, that's how it's going to be.
Yeah, a painful 1-0 win where we get the goal in the first half.
Oh, you call me the pessimist, mate. Good Lord.
I predicted a win. What more do you want from me?
Just, you just know. Like, that's like 90 minutes of pain to get that win in comparison to just, a 2-goal cushion that gets dented. But
you think that amount of suffering during the game only makes it feel sweeter at the end when that victory comes.
Sure. I wish you all the best.
Well, look, we are running out of time here today, but we will see how it lands at St Mary's on the weekend. Thank you very much for listening to us. We are on all of the socials. Drop your score predictions in the comments and let us know. We are on Facebook, Blue Sky, X, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all of it. Bebo, that's still a thing, maybe.
Other miscellaneous social medias that we are unaware that we have.
Yes, let us know your score predictions. Let us know how you think the rest of the season is going to play out. On somehow, still looking forward to it. So that may never go away, at least. Until then, we'll see you next time.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.